Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a brand new video. Do Arsenal have an injury crisis? According to John Crossmirror, Saka is suffering from a long-term Achilles injury, and that is actually one of the reasons why he is underperforming. But that is not the end of the story. Benjamin White as well has been playing with a knock for some time, with Takara Tomiyasu going out with to Japan for the Asian Cup. We might have Ben White playing over an extended period of time with that injury. Alexander Zinchenko, as you will know, is injured. We don't have cover in that area apart from Jakub Kiwior, who is definitely horrendous at left back, and Thomas Partey and Fabio Vieira in midfield are not available for selection until early February. So what's going on? Why do we have these injuries? And is it the reason why Arsenal are absolutely falling off? Now, there's no question about are we good enough for the title? I think with every player fit, with every player back in the squad, Arsenal have one of the best squads in the Premier League. But at the moment, our squad has been watered down. And I think the concerns started at the beginning of the campaign. We suffered a couple of injuries. You look at Gabriel Jesus, did go through a surgery. Jurrien Timber, until now, he's not back. And then the likes of, Alexander Zinchenko, started picking up those small injuries. So what's wrong? Is it game time? Is it the lack of rotation? Is Mikel Arteta trying to, get that 11 that he wants to play every single game, and is that hurting the players? Is it just the fact that we had a World Cup last year and maybe many of our players are succumbing to the pressure? And I think this injury crisis as well, it is not only at Arsenal. You look at Chelsea, you look at Man United, you look at Real Madrid. The injuries are spread across a spectrum, and they're long term. They're not short term injuries. So Timber, long term. Christopher Nkunku, long term. Thibaut Courtois, long term. But for Arsenal, what does this mean for us? And does it mean that we are actually not going to be contending for the title? So in this video, I'm going to be diving into the injury crisis at Arsenal, the implications of the injury crisis, and why I think January is just coming at the right time. The transfer window is coming in at the right time. With all these injuries at the moment, we might as well go out in January and spend some cash. Can you do me a favor? Let's get this video to 300 likes. I want to thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. We are at 5k subscribers. That is massive. Continue hitting the like button and continue subscribing as well. Now, according to John Crossmirror, Arsenal have a problem, and that problem is Ben White has been playing with a niggle in recent weeks, while Bukayo Saka has been nursing a recurrent Achilles issue, which is actually long term. And of course, he says that Japan have asked for Takara Tomiyasu to join up for the Asian Cup this week. That means that it's not getting better. We are not getting any better, right? Because Ben White, being out for some time, or probably playing with that niggle, it means that if Takara Tomiyasu is fit, you can actually rotate him. You can actually, rest Ben White. But that is not going to happen as well. Japan are saying, we've got to give us Takara Tomiyasu right now. So what do Arsenal do, and what is the solution? So for me, with Saka's injury, we have actually known about it for a long time. It was Sami Makpo that actually broke that story last year in 2023, and he actually said Saka is carrying something, right? He's carrying something. It's an Achilles injury, and the national team are actually calling him up, regardless of that Achilles injury. And Mikel Arteta and the medical team are keeping on assessing him, but they're also keeping on, playing him, because they think the Achilles injury is not something, something to be worried about. But it is something to be worried about. Yes, he's not actually gone down, and he's not failed to play football, courtesy of the injury. But look at his form. Look at the output. Look at the amount of game time this guy is getting, and the quality he's providing. There is, surely, for a player to drop off, such standards, there must be an explanation. And for me, I've already said, Saka is either not fit or carrying an injury. Otherwise, there is no way he's changed from better to worse overnight. He's no longer taking on players. He's afraid to take on risky shots. He gets in the penalty area very late, and he prefers to actually play the ball backwards to Odegaard or Ben White rather than getting into the penalty area. Something is not clicking. Something is not right. So John Crossmere has now told us that there is an Achilles issue, an Achilles injury that is recurring. It's a long-term problem, and Saka might actually complete the whole season with that injury. I don't think it's going to happen, actually, because for me, it's just a matter of time for Saka to break down. It's just a matter of time for this boy to actually go out for 4 months, 5 months. He's going to pick up a long-term injury that is going to keep him for 4 months, 5 months. That's the issue. And I'm really not happy with Mikel Arteta. He has options, right? Yes, we have had a couple of injuries, and the team is actually not at full speed, but we have options. Gabriel Jesus has played at right wing before, and we know Gabriel Jesus is good there, right? Edin Ketia can play down through the middle. Obviously, he's horrendous, but when it comes to protecting Saka, he's the third most forward player in the Premier League. Not protected by the FA, not protected by the PGML, and not protected by the national team, and not protected by Arsenal as well. It doesn't make any sense. We've got to protect our players. We can't expect the other third-party bodies to actually protect our players. The priority is for Arsenal to go. He is carrying an injury. Gabriel Jesus to the right, Gabriel Martinelli to the left, and probably Kai Havertz down through the middle, or Leandro Trossard down through the middle. That could work, right? But for him to be out for a long period of time, is that what we want? I'm not sure it's what we want. And we had it coming our way. The moment Mikel Arteta decided he is untouchable, whether he's fouled or not, whether he's limping or not, he doesn't come off. Why? That's the question, right? If he's fit and you think he's your best player and is the most important player, then it's okay. You might not take him off. But if he's injured, if he's carrying an injury, you've got to protect him. For Christ's sake, he is your best player in terms of numbers right now. 6 goals, 6 assists. That is 12 goal contributions. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't really make any sense for Mikel Arteta to actually hang out this boy to dry, because he's going to pick up a long-term injury. Arsenal do not have the resources to buy a new winger in January. And that's the issue, and that's the truth. We can't buy Olise, we can't buy Pedro Neto in January. We have financial fair play problems. We better protect Saka. When we play Madrid, when we play all these big teams in Europe, we are going to have one star man and one star boy, and that is going to be Bukayo Saka. So we now understand, and I now know why he's been declining in form, and everybody now knows why he's been afraid to take on players, afraid to enter the dangerous waters, and very, very afraid to take the good decisions in the penalty area. But it also comes down to Mikel. It comes down to Mikel Arteta. He's creating an injury crisis that we don't need at the club. There are games where Saka should have rested. There are games where you could take him off in the 60th minute, in the 70th minute. He doesn't have to play, against Sheffield. He doesn't have to play against Burnley if he's carrying an Achilles injury. It doesn't matter how important you want him to be. It doesn't matter whether you want him to play 38 games. Is he fit to play 38 games, right? This old business of saying, well, Mikel believes that Saka is okay, and Saka said he can play. That is not the issue. The issue is, if he's not fit, and the medical team look at him and he's carrying something dangerous and deadly and is hindering his performances, you've got to drop him, because he's eventually affecting the whole of the squad. He's eventually affecting the whole of the team. And that is something we don't want, do we? So Saka is carrying an Achilles injury. And on top of that, which makes it an injury crisis, Benjamin White as well is carrying a niggle for a long time. So John Cross says that Arsenal in a very difficult position, because Timber is not coming back anytime sooner. He's coming back like in March, early March, right? Yeah, it's soon, but not soon enough to help out Ben White. Takehiro Tomiyasu has been already summoned and not really sanctioned, but summoned by Japan for the Asian Cup. That means that Ben White has to play in that position. Regardless of his injury, he's got to play in that position. That is madness. Like, that is absolute madness. Where do we get, where do we go from here? Where do we turn from here? It's a very difficult position. Very difficult. Now, I understand why Mikel Arteta has prioritized a defender in January. I mean, at first, I didn't understand it until this story came out. And I'm like, okay, we are really badly short at the back. If Ben White is playing with an injury, Sakura Tomiyasu is gone, Cedric is not good enough, Timber is not here, Zinchenko, we will talk about, is injured again. You almost have around 6 of your real defenders either injured or out. Like, that is a crisis. There is a crisis. At Arsenal, there's an injury crisis, at the club right now. The players that are playing are carrying injuries, and therefore their performances are not good enough to support the team. And the players that are not playing are really having bad injuries, and they're keeping them out for a long period of time. So, Ben White, if you've been asking yourself, like myself, why is he not playing very well? One of the key reasons why he's actually underperforming is that injury. To make matters worse, as Takehiro Tomiyasu goes out for the Asian Cup with Japan, Alexander Zinchenko, the master, has now picked up another injury. And that injury, according to rumors and sources, we might actually have him out for around 2 to 3 months. Now, Zinchenko has a recurring injury, and that much we know. So that's why Mikel Arteta, and I don't blame him for this one, he brought in Jurrien Timber. And the season began while Alexander Zinchenko was injured. So Jurrien Timber was playing at left back, inverting into the middle of the pack, while Partey played at right back, inverting into the middle of the pack as well. And that seemed to be kind of a very good formation, because that is the same formation we used against Manchester City in the Carabao Cup. Not Carabao Cup, it's Community Shield, and it worked out. But Alexander Zinchenko picking up an injury right now, that is sus. That is bad news. Like, have you been in a situation where you're absolutely broke, and then your partner breaks up with you and your relationship breaks into? This is the moment Arsenal are going through. We might actually go into depression as a club. I'm telling you. Alexander Zinchenko picking up another injury while Tomiyasu is gone. That leaves us with Kivio and Cedric as the options at left back. Tell me it's not true. Someone just tell me this is actually not true, because it is true, right? So Zinchenko, however much people have actually been, onto his case, not performing well as well, he's had a bad December. But prior to December, he was actually having a very, very good game. He was actually having very good games and a very good season. And again, it explains why Alexander Zinchenko has been, declining and has had deteriorating performances, during the back end of December. Again, he's injured. So we have a whole squad, carrying injuries, and they're playing through injuries. They're playing through games with injuries, and these games are long games, 100 minutes, 120 minutes, and all that kind of crap. So Zinchenko, picking up that injury means that in against Liverpool, this is the lineup you're gonna see: Kivio at left back, Gabriel, Saliba, and Ben White. A Ben White that is carrying an injury, a Kivio that is absolutely atrocious, at left back. Lord have mercy on Sunday. We might actually have a very long evening. Now, in midfield, Mikel Arteta again, the reason that's why he's asking for another midfielder, or even two, is because he doesn't really think Jorginho, Partey are going to stay fit for a long period of time as he would actually want it. Thomas Partey is injured for almost the whole season. He's coming back later this month. Fabio Vieira later this month as well. And that could be impactful. That could add to the team, because Partey plays at right back. So if he comes back, you can fix him at right back, and then you can relieve Ben White of his duties for some time until he nurses that injury, and it gets better. Fabio Vieira, of course, coming back means that you have an option for Saka. We have seen him play on the right-hand side, like Bernardo Silva. But then also it means you have an option for Kai Havertz and Martin Odegaard. So we do have it's not a mini injury crisis. It's actually a big injury crisis. This is a big injury crisis for me, right? Because if you have players fit to play, but they are carrying injuries, and then you have players out injured, and those are in critical state, this is a bad injury crisis. So what's wrong? I'm still going to point at one or two reasons. One, Mikel Arteta. You've got to rotate your squad better, right? He is well aware that we had a World Cup in December and we had very many games compacted together, compact games, and players were really, really, having a very, very, hard schedule. So burnout was always going to be an option. So rotate your squad in 23-24. Rotate your squad. Like, do it as if it's as if it's a requirement. Do it as if your life depends on it. Do it as if winning the title depends on it. You've got to rotate your squad. Like Ben White with Takara Tomiyasu, rotate them, often. Zinchenko with Takara Tomiyasu, rotate them more often. The centre back Scivio, how many games has he played? If Gabriel picks up an injury right now, we will play Scivio for 20 games. Like, why don't you give them some time? Why don't you give them some game time? Why don't you rotate them in order to manage those injuries? That would be the better way. And of course, the other reason is that World Cup that was fixed in December 2022. Fixed, I mean placed. I don't mean, of course it was. But that's one of the reasons why injuries are global. Players are really playing, they really played so many games in 2023. I know people actually don't say it, but go back from January to May. Go back and see how many games clubs played, how many games these players played. So it doesn't get better. It really doesn't get better. And the question that we are answering on the podcast today is, are Arsenal still title contenders? It doesn't look good. It really, really doesn't look good in our favor. Smash the like button, and thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. We will be talking transfers very, very soon.